Too many rappers have died too early at the peak of their fame and influence before they ever got a chance to get old. Here are some rappers who died tragically. Discovered in a mall by super producer Jermaine Dupri, Chris Mac Daddy Kelly and Chris Daddy Mac Smith, aka Criss Cross, were all of 13 when they topped the Billboard Hot 100 in 1992 with Jump, a song built on a killer hook and the rapid-fire flow of the very young rappers. Criss Cross scored again with hits like Warm It Up and All Right before splitting up in 1996, but not before inspiring millions to imitate the duo by wearing their clothes backwards. On May 1, 2013, Kelly was discovered unresponsive at his Atlanta home. Despite a transfer to a local hospital, Kelly passed away later that same day. In July 2013, the Fulton County Medical Examiner released the results of an autopsy. The rapper had a number of controlled substances in his body, including heroin, cocaine, alcohol, prescription painkillers, and Valium, several of which a friend told police he'd consumed the night before his death. All those things made for a fatal combination, and Kelly died at age 34. Mobb Deep came onto the scene strong in the 90s with the infamous and Hell on Earth, landmarks of both a very fruitful decade for hardcore rap and for the East Coast New York-based scene in particular. Mobb Deep was a duo consisting of Havoc and Prodigy. Affiliated with the influential 50 Cent and his G-Unit collective, Mobb Deep experienced a resurgence in popularity in the mid-2000s, although it was interrupted when Prodigy had to serve a 3-year prison sentence for weapons charges. Forever turning his darker experiences into art, Prodigy later published Commissary Kitchen, My Infamous Prison Cookbook, a collection of jailhouse recipes on his own imprint. According to The Independent, Prodigy was diagnosed as an infant with sickle cell anemia, a painful chronic disorder where red blood cells take on a crescent shape which slows down and obstructs blood flow. That can lead to extensive and frequent medical treatment, and Prodigy sought relief during a Las Vegas tour stop in 2017. While under a doctor's care for sickle cell anemia, Prodigy choked on an egg and died. The Mobb Deep star was 42. After the gangster rap era came and went, and before the rise of Eminem and 50 Cent, there was no rapper more popular with a more indelible impression on hip-hop than DMX. With his distinctively guttural, throaty, and weighty voice that sold the material and conveyed a troubled and conflicted past, the man born Earl Simmons dominated late 90s and early 2000s rap. DMX was versatile, too, energetically barking his way through anthems to challenges on wax to self-assured explorations of culture and identity. His album sold extremely well at his peak, with 5 DMX records in a row topping the Billboard 200 between 1998 and 2003. According to sources who spoke to TMZ, on the evening of April 2, 2021, DMX overdosed on drugs and suffered a heart attack. Paramedics were called to the rapper's home, and it took around 30 minutes to resuscitate. DMX was on life support for nearly a week, at which point no brain function had returned. On April 9, 2021, DMX died at the age of 50. Pop Smoke brought the Brooklyn drill subgenre of hip-hop to the masses. According to The Ringer, the style melds spooky British production techniques with trap beats and often dark lyrics. In 2019, he released his first major project, Meet the Woo, with a follow-up, Meet the Woo 2, debuting in February 2020 and hitting number 7 on the Billboard album chart. His star was on the rise, and he'd go on to work with heavy hitters like Travis Scott and Nicki Minaj, and also score numerous top 20 singles. Sadly, Pop Smoke, born Bashar Jackson, wouldn't live to see much of his phenomenal success. According to the New York Times, the rapper had relocated from New York to a home in Hollywood he rented from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills star Teddy Mellencamp. It was there, in the early hours of February 19, 2020, that a group of men allegedly broke in and shot the rapper. A few hours later, he died at a local hospital. Pop Smoke was 20 years old. There weren't many rappers who made a bigger impact on hip-hop in the late 2010s than Juice WRLD. In 2018, he released his first album, Goodbye and Good Riddance, and it reached number 4 on the Billboard album chart while also generating the huge hit singles Lucid Dreams and All Girls Are the Same. His second studio release, Death Race for Love, performed even better, cresting the Billboard 200. Juice WRLD was a prolific musician, releasing an additional 9 EPs and 2 mixtapes, all before he turned 21 years old. Then, less than a week after he hit that milestone birthday, it was all over for Juice WRLD. According to TMZ, the rapper exited a private plane at Chicago's Midway Airport in December 2019. While walking through the terminal, he suffered a seizure, with blood reportedly coming out of his mouth by the time paramedics could treat him. A few hours later, he was pronounced dead at a hospital. The rapper, whose music was laced with references to his use and abuse of substances, died from an overdose of codeine and oxycodone, according to the Cook County Medical Examiner. While he found national success as part of a popular rap collective, the rapper who called himself Proof was a local legend in the Detroit rap scene of the 1990s. According to AllMusic, he hosted and competed in rap battles, and even won the 1999 Unsigned Hype Award bestowed by hip-hop magazine The Source. It was in this world that he and Eminem became friends and collaborators, and the latter would later ask Proof, also known as Deshaun Holton, to join his rap collective D12. He participated on 2 D12 albums in the 2000s, Devil's Night and D12 World, and played the role of daunting battle rapper Lil Tick in Eminem's lightly fictionalized biopic 8 Mile. In the early hours of April 11, 2006, according to Rolling Stone, a fight broke out at 3C, a club in the 8 Mile area of Detroit. Police arrived at the illegal after-hours institution after receiving reports of shots fired. According to Billboard, police say that Mario Etheridge fatally shot Proof after the rapper shot and killed Etheridge's cousin after a disagreement over a pool game. Proof was pronounced dead on arrival at a local hospital. He was 32 years old. Raised in the Magnolia Projects of New Orleans, James Tapp Jr. first adopted the stage name Magnolia Slim. After he changed his name to Soulja Slim, he earned the attention of Master P and his influential No Limit Records. His first LP for that company, Give It To 'Em Raw, hit number 13 on the Billboard album chart. A few years in prison for armed robbery meant a follow-up wouldn't come quickly, but Soulja Slim re-emerged in the 2000s. Slow Motion, a collaboration with the rapper Juvenile, went all the way to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in August 2004. Unfortunately, Soulja Slim had no idea that he'd topped the charts. It was released after his death. In November 2003, per WAFB9, the rapper was shot to death outside the New Orleans house he'd bought for his mother. He was 26. The Detroit-based rap trio Slum Village got its big break in 1998 when it was asked to be the opening act on what was advertised as a Tribe Called Quest's final tour. The breakout star of Slum Village was rapper and producer James Yancey, or JD, more prominently known as J Dilla. After releasing a Slum Village record in 2000, J Dilla went solo with Welcome to Detroit the following year. Around the turn of the millennium, J Dilla moonlighted as one of the hottest producers in hip-hop and R&B, shepherding Common's Like Water for Chocolate, D'Angelo's Voodoo, and projects for Macy Gray and Erykah Badu.
A lot of them don't know that Dilla produced a lot of their favorite picks.
Toward the end of his life, J Dilla suffered from lupus, a painful autoimmune disease characterized by widespread inflammation. He required the use of a wheelchair on some of his final concert dates, and in February 2006, per Billboard, the rapper and producer died from complications of the disease at the age of 32. Raised on Long Island by educator parents, Gustav R. moved to Los Angeles and in 2015 became one of the first and most vocal voices of the SoundCloud rapper movement. Performing and posting bedroom recordings on the streaming services Lil Peep, his childhood nickname, the rapper struck a nerve with his extremely personal songs about mental health issues and other sensitive subjects, combining confessional hip-hop with sounds and backing tracks from the worlds of emo and alternative rock. Lil Peep's career would ultimately last only about 2 years and consist of numerous independently released recordings, including the commercial hit Come Over When You're Sober Part 1. On the evening of November 15, 2017, Lil Peep was supposed to perform at a Tucson club called The Rock. He was discovered in his tour bus and he was pronounced dead on the scene, according to the New York Times. A toxicology report later issued by the Pima County Office of the Medical Examiner would rule that the rapper died from an accidental overdose of the anti-anxiety drug Xanax, combined with the powerful prescription painkiller fentanyl. Lil Peep was 21.
The Notorious B.I.G., Biggie Smalls, Christopher Wallace, whatever you want to call him, there's no doubt he was by far the dominant figure of the 1990s East Coast rap world. Biggie's 2 studio albums, 1994's Ready to Die and 1997's Life After Death, sold many millions of copies and rank among the most acclaimed hip-hop albums of all time. He had a hypnotic, eloquent, and inimitable flow, which brought to life many catchy and catchphrase-generating smashes like Juicy, Big Papa, Hypnotize, and Mo Money, Mo Problems. And that's to say nothing of his affiliation with Junior Mafia or his star-making work with close friend and producer Sean Puff Daddy Combs. After leaving a music industry event in the early hours of March 9, 1997, Wallace was riding in the passenger seat of a Chevrolet Suburban when another vehicle drove up and opened fire. While no one was ever arrested or held accountable for the killing, the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office released their autopsy report 15 years later. According to the document, Wallace was shot 4 times. When Wallace arrived at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, he was suffering a cardiac arrest event related to the shooting trauma and was soon pronounced dead. The Notorious B.I.G. was just 24 years old.
We look at death from the selfish side, like, that guy died, oh, it's so sad. Why is it sad? He's away from all of this bad stuff that's here on earth.
In the 90s, the East Coast had Biggie Smalls, and the West Coast had Tupac Shakur. After cutting his teeth with Digital Underground, Tupac went solo, releasing 4 classic albums during his lifetime that showcased not only his guttural voice and his hard-as-nails views on the world, but also his versatility. Shakur released tons of music, but expressed himself with acting too, appearing in movies such as Juice, Above the Rim, and Poetic Justice. On September 7, 1996, Shakur went to Las Vegas to see boxer Mike Tyson fight Bruce Seldon at the MGM Grand. After a scuffle with a gang member in the casino, he got into a BMW with Death Row Records boss Suge Knight. On the way to a club where Tupac was to perform, a white Cadillac pulled up alongside the BMW, and a still unknown assailant fired 13 rounds into the car. 4 of them hit Shakur. At a local hospital, the rapper endured several life-saving surgeries, including the removal of a badly damaged lung, and was placed on a ventilator and respirator. After a brief resuscitation, Shakur succumbed to his injuries and died 6 days later. He was 25. After hip-hop had ventured into more psychological, introspective territory courtesy of the stars of the 2000s, Nipsey Hussle brought back a lot of what made gangsta rap so captivating in the 90s. A former member of the Rollin' 60 Crips gang in Los Angeles, he documented and worked through those experiences on a slew of mixtapes, a couple of dozen singles, and just 1 studio album, Victory Lap, a platinum seller and Grammy nominee for Best Rap Album. Hussle was just as devoted to ending LA's violent street culture as he was to documenting it. The rapper owned a strip mall located in the somewhat rough Crenshaw Boulevard area where he'd grown up, and he had plans to build homes and stores to reinvigorate and change the area for the better. The area was home to Marathon, Hussle's clothing store, and while standing outside of it one day in March 2019, he was killed. The rapper and anti-violence advocate was 33. Just as rap was earning mainstream appeal and approval via a slew of talented but widely palatable 80s acts, along came NWA. The group virtually invented gangsta rap, a subgenre that detailed the shocking and often violent world of inner-city Los Angeles, in which the group's members were born and raised. NWA brought a new kind of storytelling and a fresh point of view to popular music with albums like Straight Outta Compton, and also launched its members to stardom, and Eazy-E was among them. Otherwise known as Eric Wright, the gang member turned musician possessed NWA's most distinctive voice and contributed to some of the group's most iconic works. After an ugly feud split NWA in the early 90s, Eazy embarked on a highly successful solo career. In February 1995, Wright, who'd long suffered from asthma, checked into the intensive care unit of Los Angeles' Cedars-Sinai Medical Hospital. He assumed he was suffering from a worsening bout of asthma, but he was wrong. Shortly after, doctors diagnosed the rapper with AIDS. 10 days later, complications from the disease took his life. In 2010, Mac Miller made an auspicious debut with the mixtape Kids when he was just 18 years old. That spawned the hit Knock Knock, and in the following year, his first studio album proper, Blue Slide Park, topped the Billboard album chart. For the rest of the decade, Miller was among the most popular and prolific voices in hip-hop, producing for other rappers, starring on his own TV series, and releasing 4 more albums and many singles. But Miller's life was sadly struck down right at the peak of his fame. On September 7, 2018, a friend found Miller in his home in California's San Fernando Valley. Paramedics arrived to address what was believed to be a cardiac arrest and pronounced the rapper dead at the scene. A toxicology report from the Los Angeles County coroner ruled that Miller died from an accidental overdose of cocaine, alcohol, and the powerful painkiller fentanyl. He was just 26 years old. There were plenty of pop-savvy R&B trios around in the 90s, but TLC stood out from the rest, thanks to the distinct and charismatic personalities of its 3 members. The L in TLC was Lisa Left Eye Lopes, the rapping complement to her singing cohorts T-Boz and Chili. Left Eye performed memorable, acrobatic raps on almost all of TLC's many hits, including on Ain't Too Proud to Beg, Waterfalls, and No Scrubs. Lopes was also outspoken and assertive off the stage, and famously spoke out against the exploitative nature of the music industry on an episode of Behind the Music.
This is how a group can sell 10 million records and be broke. And everyone, get ready to do your math.
Lopes maintained a home in rural Honduras and was driving an SUV while visiting the country one day in April 2002. Tragically, she lost control of the vehicle and it ran off the road and turned over multiple times. There were 7 other people in the SUV, including Lopez's 2 siblings, the R&B trio Egypt, and 2 producers working on Lopez's documentary. All were treated at a hospital and released, but the accident killed the TLC rapper. Lopes was 30 years old. Back in the early 80s, the Beastie Boys were a group of New York rockers so taken with the city's burgeoning rap scene that they abandoned their punk rock sound to become a hip-hop group, but kept their hard rock backbone. Adam Horovitz, Mike Diamond, and Adam Yauch exposed suburban audiences to rap for the first time, and in doing so, became one of the genre's earliest and most successful acts. But tragedy struck in 2009 when Yauch noticed swelling in his throat. Tests revealed this swelling to be the result of a cancerous tumor in his salivary gland. The band canceled a slate of concert dates and delayed the release of the album Hot Sauce Committee Part 1. In a YouTube video released at the time, Yauch reassured his fans that there was nothing to worry about.
And they've caught it early and it's not anywhere else in my body, and so that's the good news.
Sadly, however, he didn't recover. 3 years later, Yauch passed away from complications of cancer at the age of 47. Horovitz and Diamond paid tribute to their friend when the group was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2012. Born in Jamaica and raised in New York, Dwight Myers took on the stage name Heavy D, and with his group The Boys, became the first act signed to influential R&B and hip-hop label Uptown Records. With and without the collective, Heavy D scored a slew of top-selling albums and pop radio-friendly hits, and did a fair bit of acting too, making appearances on a wide number of 90s sitcoms, chief among which was The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He also scored a recurring role as the operator of a restaurant frequented by the main characters in Bones. In November 2011, however, Myers collapsed at his Los Angeles home, and paramedics rushed him to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. The hitmaker died in the hospital hours later at the age of 44. A month later, a Los Angeles County coroner investigation revealed the cause of Heavy D's sudden and mysterious death: a pulmonary embolism brought on by deep vein thrombosis. A blood clot had likely formed in his leg during a long-haul flight from London to Los Angeles, and it migrated to a lung, which held back blood flow and put pressure on his heart. Big Punisher's career was only getting started when his life came to a tragic end. After his first verse in 1995 on a couple of Fat Joe tracks, Big Pun released his debut studio LP, Capital Punishment, in 1998, and a year later, he was all over Collective Terror Squad's The Album. Big Punisher also had a series of solo smashes like I'm Not a Player, It's So Hard, and How We Roll, and crossed over to pop radio with guest spots on Jennifer Lopez's Feelin' So Good and Joe's Still Not a Player. Born Christopher Rios, Big Punisher was a large man, with his size reflected in his stage name, and that, sadly, is what led to his fatal health problems. The rapper started to rapidly put on weight in his late teens, and press materials claimed he ended up around 400 pounds. In the summer of 1999, he lost 100 pounds via a Duke University program, but left early and returned to old habits, and the weight soon returned. In February 2000, authorities were summoned to his hotel room in White Plains, New York, after being told that the rapper was struggling to breathe. He was transferred to a hospital where he was later pronounced dead. Rios weighed 698 pounds at the time of his death, and his heart had expanded to 3 times that of a normal, healthy size. Big Punisher was 28 when he died. Staten Island's own Wu-Tang Clan is arguably the greatest collective in rap history, boasting 9 full-fledged members who each brought their own unique contributions to the enterprise. They're also responsible for all-time classics like Into the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers and Wu-Tang Forever. Russell Jones, otherwise known as Old Dirty Bastard, is likely the most famous Wu-Tang rapper, with his distinctive vocal range, wild style, and flair for both the dramatic and comical. Also known by the stage names Dirt McGirt, Osiris, and Big Baby Jesus, ODB shined on Wu-Tang standards like Protect Your Neck, along with his solo singles such as Got Your Money. In 2004, however, ODB was at a New York recording studio working on his 4th solo album, Osiris, when he suddenly collapsed without warning. By the time medical authorities arrived, the rapper was already dead. A few weeks later, the NYC Medical Examiner released the results of an autopsy. A toxic combination of cocaine and tramadol, a prescription painkiller, had caused a heart attack. ODB died just a few days before his 36th birthday. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, please call the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration's 24/7 National Helpline at 1-800-662-HELP. That's 1-800-662-4357.